Today I want to show you how to make an Xbar R chart control chart by hand. So here's what I have. I have 8 samples collected. I think it's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, 9 samples collected over 2 days. 9 samples on day 1, the 13th of December. 9 samples on day 2, the 14th of December, taken at different times throughout the day. Each sample consists of 4 observations, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I want to make a control chart of these samples, the appropriate type of chart is an Xbar R chart because these are measurements. And it's an R chart instead of, say, an S chart because there are only 4 data points. So my N equals 4. My N does not equal 18. I have 18 observations, but I only have, or 18 samples, but I have 4 observations per sample. And it doesn't matter how this data is arranged. I have a second sheet here where I instead arrange these samples this way. So now each day is along the top, each timestamp, and then I have the same 4 observations. So the first thing I want to do, whether I'm working with data that's in columns or in rows, I need to find the X bar for each day. So I'm going to find the X bar, the average of each sample, and the range of each sample. So for the first sample, I have 2.006, 1.97, 2.04, and 1.01, or 2.01. Let's see, that would be, see if I can do the average in my head. Not quite. I think that average is 2.67. But I'm going to put it in a calculator to make sure. So I have 2.06 plus 1.97 plus 2.04 plus 2.01, which equals 8.8. I divide that by 4, I get 2.02. 2.02. That's my first X bar. I can find my second X bar by taking 2.03 plus 2.04 plus 1.98 plus 1.99, which equals 8.02. Divide that by 4, and I get 2.005, and so on. To find the range, I take the largest, in this case, this is my largest, 2.06, and subtract the smallest, 1.7, which gives me 0.09. For the next one, my largest is 2.04, my smallest is 1.98, so the range would be 0.06. I get the same thing if I do it up here. So I have the same points. Actually, I don't have the same points. I guess I cut and paste it separately. But if I was doing it here, I do the same thing. I just take the average of those 4 points and the range of those 4 points and write it below. And then I graph them out. Now, I went ahead to save time and did all that in Excel here. So you can see that by hand, I got 2.02. Here I got 2.02. I did the range by hand. I'm sorry, I have a different one where I only went to 2 decimal points to make it quicker and simpler. So there we go, 2 decimal points. And you can see that I got 2.02 and 0.09, 2.005, which rounded up to 2.01 and 0.06. So here are all 18 X bars. Scroll down, there we go. And all 18 my ranges. I went ahead and calculated my X double bar, or the average of all of these X bars, and it was 2.00. I took the average of all of the ranges, which was 0.07, that's my R bar. So the next step is to calculate the control limits for the 2 charts. I'm going to make an X bar chart, and I'm going to make an R chart. For the X bar chart, the upper control limit is equal to X double bar plus A2 R bar. The lower control limit is equal to X double bar minus A2 R bar. For the R chart, the upper control limit is equal to D4 R bar, and the lower control limit is equal to D3 R bar. So I have my R bar, write it the same way, and here's my X double bar. Okay, so all that I need now are my table values. Now, the table values essentially use the t-distribution to go out far enough that it's like 3 sigma limits. Here's that page in the book. This is page 171, table 9.1. Here we have the sample size. We have our A2 values, our D3 values, and our D4 values. Now, in this little example problem, my n is equal to 4 because I'm taking the average of 1, 2, 3, 4 data points to get my X bar in the range of those same 4 points. It doesn't matter how many samples I have, it's how many observations are there per sample. That is my sample size. So my sample size is 4. So I'm going to use this row here. So my A2 value that I'm going to use this row here, sample size of 4. So my A2 value is 0.729. My D3 value is 0. And my D4 value is 2.282. So go ahead and write that down here. So n equals 4. A2 equals 0.729. D3 equals 0, and D4 equals 2.282. Now I have everything I need to plug in to find these limits. So my upper control limit for the X bar chart is equal to 2 plus 0.729 times 0.07. My lower control limit will be 2 minus 0.729 times 0.07. For the R chart, excuse me, the upper control limit will be equal to 2.282 times 0.07, and the lower control limit will be equal to 0 times 0.07. So now I just have to plug into those equations and find the answer. Let me grab my calculator. Just use the calculator on my phone for these. All right. So for the upper control limit here, I have 0.729 times 0.07, which equals 0.05103. I'm going to add that to 2, and I get an upper control limit for the X bar chart of 2.05103. Probably won't carry that many decimals. For the lower control limit, I have the same thing, 0.729 times 0.07. This time I'm going to subtract it from 2, and I get a lower control limit of 1.94897. For the R chart, the upper control limit is 2.282 times 0.07, which is 0.15974, and the lower control limit is 0. All right, now I have all the information I need to draw the charts. I'm going to go ahead and draw charts on this piece of paper, but I'll refer back to the other one to get the values for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my X bar chart. I have an upper control limit, I have the center line, and I have the lower control limit. I just found, so the center line was my X double bar, which was 2.00. My upper control limit was 2.051. And my lower control limit was 1.949. For the R chart, the upper control limit was 0.159. The center line, or was my R bar, was 0.07. Then I have the lower control limit, which was 0. It's the upper control limit, lower control limit. All right. So now I have all the information I need to plot points. All that's left is to plot the points here on the chart. So I'm going to start, remember, for the first sample, my X bar was 2.02 and my R was 0.09. So for the X bar chart, I'm going to find 2.02, which should be about right here. And then I'm going to find 0.09, which would probably be about right there. Then I plot the second point. The second point, 2.01 and 0.06. So 2.01 should be here, and 0.06 should be there. Then I plot the next point, 2.03 and 0.07. So 0.07 should be about right on this line. For the R chart, 2.03 should be up here. The fourth data point, back to 2.02 on the X bar chart. You can see those numbers here. And I looked in the wrong spot. So 2.02, 2.01, 2.03. The fourth point is 1.99. So 1.99 should be right here. And 0.07 again, right there in the middle. Next data point, the X bar is 2.01 and the R is 0.05. Then I have 2.0 and 0.08, so 2.0, 0.08. Then I have 1.99 and 0.09, 0.09, 1.99. Then I have 2.0 and 0.04. Then I have 1.99 and 0.04. So 1.99, 0.04 again, 2 in a row. Then I have 1.99 and 0.11. One is up here, up there. Then I have 2.0 and 0.11. Then I have 1.99 and 0.06. 6. And I have 2.05. It's right way up there, but just below the control limit. 0.04. Then I have 2.0, 0.08. .99 and 0.08. points, so it's easier to interpret. There we go, 2 control charts. The question is this process in control or out of control? It really looks pretty good, except this one data point on the Xbar chart, but it's not enough to be classified as probably being out of control. If it were above this upper control limit, we'd say the process is probably out of control. But otherwise, this one looks pretty good, this one looks pretty good. So we'd classify the process as being in control. That's how you make control charts by hand. Normally I'd carry more decimals. I made this other sheet. In this particular problem, it would make more sense to have probably 3 decimals. Before I rounded them, I just show you that. I just did that so it'd be easier to follow where all of those numbers came from. So these were the calculations I used to find the control limits after I found each of the 18 X bars and 18 R's. Then I found the X double bar here and the R here. I plugged the equations. The table values came from table 9.1 on page 171 of the textbook based on n equals 4, because there was 4 samples that I was averaging, 4 observations in each sample that I was averaging for the sample average, and then those same 4 points to find the range. And then I made the charts with those control limits on them and plotted the points and then interpreted them. Slow and boring probably, but I hope that helps anyone who's struggling with the concept of making control charts. Thank you for watching.